Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small-town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
The Keokuk County Veterans Affairs Office in Sigourney wishes you the very best this holiday season. And please remember those that aren't with their families this year, as they are protecting our great country. For more information on Keokuk County Veterans Affairs, contact Michelle Herman, the Veteran Affairs Administrator, at 101 South Main in Sigourney. Let's glow crazy for the new year at Copper Lantern Sports Bar and Grill at 101 North Jefferson in Sigourney. We want to ring in the new year with a fun-filled glow party, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on the eve of 2025. Dress up and let's have some fun at Copper Lantern Sports Bar and Grill. Drink specials, music, jello shots, glow-in-the-dark games, and bring a snack to share with your friends. It's all happening New Year's Eve at the Copper Lantern in Sigourney. Don't get left out in the cold this winter. Head to your local Sinclair Napa for unbeatable deals on all your winter automotive needs. We've got a variety of jump packs, battery chargers and maintainers, windshield wiper blades, and de-icers on sale now. Plus, you can save up to $25 on select car batteries with an online rebate. Don't forget to grab a bag of Roadrunner ice melt for those slippery mornings. Visit Sinclair Napa in Montezuma, Sigourney, Centerville, Williamsburg, or Ottumwa, or at sinclairnapa.com. Julie's Homestyle Cafe at 216 South Market in Oskaloosa is a small place with a great big taste of home cooking. Established in 2009, Julie's Homestyle Cafe serves breakfast, lunch. You can have a slice of pie, dessert, and soft drinks. Julie's Homestyle Cafe is a veteran-owned cafe serving traditional breakfast and homemade lunch meals just like Mom used to make. Find more information at julieshomestyle.cafe.com or follow their page on Facebook.
Welcome to this edition of Morgan Asked For podcast. As you can see, we are house divided today. We have local Miami Hurricane super fan Doug DeCock. If you're from Oskaloosa, around Oskaloosa, you know Doug DeCock, co-owner, I believe is what you would say it, of Swim Sports. Done a lot of different things throughout his life here in Oskaloosa, played for the Indians, and then in college did play for the Miami Hurricane baseball team. So thought it would be a great time to have him on. We've talked about this for years to be on and finally made it happen. And this kind of made it go. He's supporting his Hurricane Final Four, and he'd already given me crap because they did beat Iowa State on their trip to the Final Four there in Chicago. And I do believe you went to that game.
I went to the Kansas game.
Kansas game.
The Elite Eight can't. Well, no, I did not go. I went the year before they lost to Kansas.
Okay.
And then I did go to the Final Four the year they made it down in Houston.
Right. You got a friend down there that was able to help you out there a lot. But we do appreciate Doug. Trevor is helping some family. It is Christmas Eve, so definitely understandable there with Trevor. I might have to do this again sometime with all three of us because Doug and Trevor are good friends as well. It would be interesting. Doug, I'll just kind of let you introduce yourself, kind of your background for those of you that don't know. I know people around here do, but we do have people that listen from other places as well.
All right. Well, it's nice to be here, Ryan. Yeah, like you mentioned, we've talked about this for a while, so finally made it happen. My name is Doug DeCock. I did attend the University of Miami back in 1987, 88, which I know is a long time ago. But when I attended Miami, we were in the midst of a 58-game home winning streak. And I'm going to mention a lot of things here just to kind of intimidate the Iowa State fans as we go. Maybe all pros and Hall of Famers and all that. But anyway, it was a great time at Miami back in those days. This baseball team had just come off a national championship in 85. They also won it in 82. And the football team was rolling. Saw some fantastic games. Played number one Oklahoma in a home game, not the actual Orange Bowl, but we played in the Orange Bowl against Brian Bosworth. And, of course, the Florida State battles, the Notre Dame battles, and now we have an Iowa State battle.
Right. This will be the first time Iowa State and Miami has ever played. And 58 games in a row. I don't think Iowa State won 58 games in the 80s and 90s combined.
That was pretty tough time for Iowa State. Nebraska and Oklahoma were rolling through Ames and putting up 60, 70 points. And Yeah, I understand that, but I think this game's on a lot more equal footing than what people may think.
Yeah, this will be the third time in 6 years that Iowa State's played in this bowl game. And three of the biggest names in college football, they played Notre Dame 5 years ago, I think. And then 3 years ago, they played Clemson and now Miami. And then in intermix there, they did play Oregon. So Iowa State's bowl record in the history of bowls is very poor, and lately is very poor as well. And that's something that I like to get turned around. But who they're playing is much different than playing Miami of Ohio or Northern Illinois or Memphis or other teams. They're playing bigger name teams, and that's what you want. I believe this game probably will be one of the top rated non-playoff games. Obviously, the playoff games are going to get huge ratings compared to all the others, but your Alabama Michigan game, I think, will probably be number one. BYU Colorado is probably number two. And then I definitely think this definitely could be number three. We'll see what it all pans out. Saturday afternoon, 3:30 in Orlando, 2:30 Iowa time on ABC. So it's a good slot as well.
Yeah, both teams will get good exposure from this, but it's a little bit different landscape here with the playoff system, and it's going to be, how do teams react? Do they want to be in this game? And it's always kind of been that way with bowl games. Who wants to be there, I think, is a big deal on these games. And I'll be honest with you, I've followed some Miami pages and on the internet, and they're not real happy about this. And
no, they're super disappointed they're not in the playoff. They have the same issue as the Big 12, where they're not the Big 10, they're not the SEC. Miami lost 2 of 3. They were 9-0. How high did they get ranked this year?
They got
third or fourth.
Yeah, right.
They were right. They were in the playoff.
Yeah.
Up until they lost 2 of their last 3 games. Didn't get into the championship game with 2. I think they had a 21-point lead at Syracuse.
They did. They were up 21-0, and they lost that lead, and then ended up losing that game.
Right, and that was the one. That was the killer. They have a Heisman Trophy finalist. The intriguing part about this game is, and I still will believe it when I see him walk out and actually, even if he's dressed, I'm not going to believe it until he lines up behind center, and not line up behind center more than one series. Because that's what's been said, is he's going to play.
Yeah,
he's a top 5 projected pick. You love it. I hope he does play. I hope he plays the whole game. It'll be a much more entertaining game. I think a lot of people are picking this to be a shootout because Iowa State's defense is not as good as their offense. It's their Achilles heel, and Miami's the same way. They can't stop anybody. That's their problem, but their offense is really good. If he plays, I think this could be a shootout, really exciting, and that's what you want to have. Fun game. But until he plays and plays more than a couple series or one series, because that would qualify as playing, I'll believe it when I see it because he is so highly ranked.
I agree with you. And the sentiment down in South Florida is, what is he doing?
Right. I agree.
They're saying that too. Unlike a lot of Miami fans, I do not believe Miami should have been in the playoff. They didn't. I've seen this story for about 3 or 4 years now under Coach Cristobal. They jump out and go 6-0 and 7-0, and then they stumble. So I was just waiting for that to happen against Georgia Tech. And they pulled out 2 ball games that they could have been overturned and lost. So I didn't think they were playoff bound worthy. And the Cam Ward thing, he can move, he's mobile, but I can't believe he's going to be running a lot. I wouldn't think.
You got to protect him. Just almost have to protect him from himself. Those guys are competitors. They want to play. I will say this. I watched a podcast. It was on YouTube, so it's a podcast too, but Cyclone Fanatic kind of did their preview. And Ryan Harklaw, who played at Iowa State when I was there, D lineman, one of the head of Farm Bureau insurance now, and is our sideline guy, was talking about, everybody thinks the best thing is to sit out. Well, the best thing for a lot of people is to play. Now he's in a little different situation where he's a first rounder, maybe top 10, could be the first quarterback taken. Him and Shedeur Sanders are right there. But for most of these players that sit out that are projected 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders, he's like, I don't get that. Because if you go out and he's using Higgins from Iowa State, if he goes and has 10 catches for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns, he might go from a 5th round to a 3rd round. He's not going to jump to a 1st round. But if he goes out here and has a great game, it can only help him. If he goes out and catches 3 balls for 80 yards and no touchdown, that's not going to hurt him. And him not playing, he's not going to drop because of it, but it can only help him. Now, there is the injury factor, but they're still going to get probably drafted. And you're talking not that type of big money for a Jay Higgins, Jalen Noel, compared to Cam Ward, which is millions and millions and millions of dollars before he even plays a snap in the NFL.
Yeah, well, Miami has a little history in this where guys got hurt. They had a number 1 running back, Willis McGahee, who had a gruesome knee injury. I think it was Willis, and they may have had another player that got hurt in a bowl game or a national title game. But I actually went to Miami. Has been pretty irrelevant, in my opinion, for the last 20 years. And I was at the 2001 Rose Bowl national championship game, which some people call that the greatest college team ever. They were loaded with all kinds of NFL players,
NFL
and
Hall of
pros,
Famers,
and they put it on Nebraska that day. But since that time, Miami has not been Miami, and it is really disappointing in South Florida for a lot of us alumni. And I think you can trace some of that back to the president. You know, when a president leaves the university, you don't think about this, but when a president leaves the university and another president comes in that's not that big of a sports person, that can make a difference all the way up to the top.
Yeah, because it is, you don't think of this, but the athletic director has a boss too, and that boss is the president. And Iowa State right now, Wendy Winterstein, it seems to be all in on sports, signed TJ Otzelberger and Matt Campbell to 2032, which coincides with the new TV deals, probably some more realignment. At least, contracts are worth whatever they're worth, but at least they're on paper signed through that time. Obviously, somebody comes and wants them, they're going to go, and someone will pay the buyout. And it's going to be interesting to see all these new contracts. And just in general, coaches aren't getting fired like they used to, because for the first time in the history, they have to pay their help. And $20 million is, instead of paying a coach $20 million to not coach, or a basketball coach and a football coach, they've got to pay the players. And that's changing. Teams aren't fired. Now, there are some coaches that are quitting and saying, I'm out. So then you got to go hire a new guy. But not as many coaches are getting fired because of the buyouts being so big. So I think these new contracts, all these coaches, the buyout's not going to be near as big as it once was.
Yeah, and the landscape of college football is just changing by the hour. In fact, today it was released that current junior college players get an extra year. I think I just read that.
Yeah, I heard
a couple hours ago. And so if you're a head coach at a major college team, you're actually running a business. And so I would assume they're going to have to hire people that, what I foresee happening is contracts between the schools and the players.
Yep.
So you're going to have somebody or a group of people that oversee all that. What's his contract going to be? What's his contract going to be? It's crazy. It's like a big business now. It's always been a business, but now it really is, changed a lot.
And Bill Belichick coming to North Carolina is kind of a big thing. And he hired a straight up general manager. There's becoming, Wojbaum. He went to be the general manager of St. Bonaventure basketball, which you wouldn't think, whatever. But player personnel departments and true general managers are going to be a necessity going forward, just like you said, because that's not what coaches get into this for. on running a team. Now, I will say, I think Matt Campbell, he likes building a team. TJ Otzelberger likes building teams. That's what they've done. Otzelberger, he recruited for McDermott, for Hoiberg, for Prohm. That's what he tried to get players. And now he's the head coach. And as long as you can get good other people around you, that'll work. And Campbell, before he really started winning, you kind of heard things where and when Dan Campbell got hired by the Lions, they almost said that Matt Campbell was kind of interested in going there as the GM, not even the head coach. So I think Iowa State has the right guys there right now, but they're still, the staffs are going to get bigger and the player personnel. There's people that just, Derek Hooger at Iowa State, he doesn't coach a spot, but he is just their player personnel guy. He's the one that right now works with their collective. And the collectives, this is a misnomer. The collectives are not going away because that $20 million or whatever that number is coming from the university, there's going to be supplemental money to these guys still because $20 million isn't enough because you're going to have to pay basketball players out of that. You're going to have to pay, depending on Title IX, everything, you might have to pay women's tennis out of it. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work, but there is some legal when, especially state universities, private universities might be able to get away with a little bit more. Like Miami is a private university, correct? Yeah. So they might be able to get away with some stuff, but Iowa State and Iowa, everything's going to be on the books and you're going to have to follow all the laws to get all your federal money. And $20 million isn't enough for everybody, unfortunately.